Gonna call the meeting to order at 6 o'clock. Tonight, we're going to be doing emergency services. Who wants to start first?
I'll go first.
Why don't you?
Why not?
He wants to get out of here, that's why.
Oh, no, I'm gonna stick around for the show after.
Yeah, I thought that was your vodka bottle.
Oh, no. Just water tonight.
So from what I can see, you're proposing the 7 cruisers again?
Yeah, yep, I think we're kind of in a unique opportunity to revisit that. So I put together a chart to show why we should do it. I think everybody might have got handed the PowerPoint, stuff like that, but we're in a unique position, mostly honestly due to COVID, and then last year being, short-staffed, stuff like that, that we're in a position where we can, move from a 5 cruiser rotation to a 7 cruiser rotation. We talked about this right before COVID hit.
Yeah.
Because we were in a unique position based off the old cruiser rotations, where at that point we could have bought 3 cars and that would have put us into the same kind of rotation that I'm proposing now. And then, of course, COVID happened and we didn't know what was going to happen with the economy and stuff like that. And so we decided to table it. And then crunching the numbers, with sitting down with Lieutenant Fry, Luke, and crunching the numbers and stuff like that. When we started looking at it again this year, we're in a unique position to present itself again, the opportunity to potentially do that. As I started to say, I have never been more convinced now than I was. I'm never been more convinced now, even more than I was before. The reason I can say that is for this past year, for the most part, we've been assigned, we were short staffed, so we were assigned individual cruisers. And our maintenance is down for this year. Our mileage is spread out over those 5 cars, which allows us this opportunity where we could potentially add 1 car to the fleet this year and then another car next year, and be in a rotation where we can save the town money, but still be in a situation where we have, I guess I'd say the lack of better terms, take-home cruisers. That does several things. One, it is quicker response time. Most of our officers live in town now, or they live directly outside of town. And the take-home cruiser model would only be used for those who live in town or in a reasonable, working with the town manager close to town. So our response time, right now, if I call an officer in, or when we're full staff, when I call the officers in for a major incident, they have to come to the station, they have to get a car, then they can respond to the incident. When we have assigned cars, they can respond directly to the incident, which means that, we had several instances back before I before I was the chief and I had a take-home car, where I'd have to actually drive by the incident that was going on to go to the PD to get my cruiser, then come back to the actual incident. In a major situation where we might actually be cut off, if you go back to when we had the microburst that came through the middle of town, if you lived anywhere on, you couldn't, if you were on, let's say, the west side of town, and there's something on the east side of town, you couldn't get there. All our cars back at that point, all our cars were actually stuck at the PD. Or we could cover one side of town, but we couldn't cover the other side of town. And we actually relied on Lebanon to help us until we were able to open those roads. And that took about a day and a half, almost 2 days to get the roads open back up. And then there's also, actually, believe it or not, there's a cost savings to doing it. And I know it's hard to fathom, right? How do we buy 2 more cars and save money? Well, the reality is that, so right now in our cruiser rotation, the cars in the actual rotation that we have they're 4-year cars, because 3 of them are patrol vehicles, and then 1 admin, and then 1 assigned patrol vehicle. And so the cruisers they rack up miles, you know, the patrol vehicles rack up miles relatively quickly because they're used by all the patrol units. And so the National Highway Traffic Safety and the National Police standards for cruisers and stuff like that is once you start getting over, they say 70,000 miles on a cruiser, you start rotating them out. There's not a town in New England or a rural town like ours that can do that. But what we've seen and what we've gathered for the data since I took over as chief is that once a car hits 120,000 miles, we exponentially see the repair costs go up quite a bit. And so originally the cars were in a rotation of 4 years. When Lieutenant Fry took over cruiser maintenance and Corporal Smith, we're starting with some finicking of making sure cars are what we call not hot lapped, you know, basically use two shifts in a row and stuff like that. We've been able to stretch them out to 5 and stay under that, you know, mileage where they're really starting to fall apart. But if you look at the purchase of 2 additional cruisers over the next 2 years, and when they're individually assigned, we are confident to say that we can get, can I steal your thing? I want to say it's 7 years, right? This is the current one, that's the year. The next one. Sure, it's yep, 7 years, thank you. I just want to make sure, right? So we're confident we can get 7 years out of each car. That's the minimum number we think we can get out of it. We're actually, you know, the more that me and Lieutenant Fry have been kind of hammering, I'm sticking with 7 because that's the number that I am absolutely confident that we're going to hold on to these cars. I think that when we get to that 4 and 5 year, we're going to be talking about we can keep the car for another year, you know, to 8 years, which even increases even more the amount of money that our town is saving over not just a 7-year cycle, but, you know, a 14-year cycle. Last time I went up to 21 years with it and stuff like that, we're in that same cycle. So I didn't want to flood everybody with the same numbers over and over again. The other thing I think it does do is it helps us limit the costs that we're spending on. So right now we're replacing a car just about every year, right? Mm-hmm. And I can predict with some certainty each year how much Ford is going to raise the cost of the cars. But like last year, we had a 2022 ordered. When 2023 rolled around, they canceled all the 2022 orders and said, now you got to order the 2023, which by the way was the exact same car that they hadn't changed, but they changed the price tag of up about $8,000. And so when we're able to hold on to the cars longer, we can, you know, at least keep an eye on what those prices, you know, if we're not buying one every year and we're limiting how many we have to buy and we're keeping them longer, we're saving ourselves, you know, more money in that.
So now the question I had is 2 things. Okay. One is how many more cars do you want to buy in 2024? One. And how come the current vehicle is 55, but this is 66?
Because that's, so for the first 2 years, I have to outfit them. So if you look at that first one, it says, where your finger is now.
Yeah.
You see, that's the price of the vehicle. And then we have to outfit it with.
But you have equipment installation in it also.
Right. So that's just, so the 5,000 you're seeing right there is what we pay right now to move the equipment from one car to another. So the additional cost in there is the first 2 years is what it costs us to buy the equipment to put in a new car.
Because you don't have it.
Right. Exactly. And that's why it's in the first 2 years and not in the other years.
Okay. And that's why in 2025, 26, the price goes down because of the equipment.
Because minus Ford making a huge overhaul in their cars, we carry the equipment over to the next car. And so,
and you're able to do that without a problem? I mean,
yeah,
they don't make some kind of a change that makes it hard for you to make the equipment change?
So usually if Ford's gonna do that, they kind of give a couple year notice to everybody. They say, hey, in 2028, we're totally revamping the cruisers. So, great example is, the car that rotated out this year is a sedan. And so 4 years before they discontinued the sedan, they let everybody know, hey, we're discontinuing the sedan, so that people weren't buying brand new cages to put in the sedans. They were still transferring over, but then like this year, we couldn't transfer that cage over because it wasn't transferable. In most cases, unless it's a huge overhaul, Ford comes out with a kit that, you know, we buy for a couple $100 that
Okay.
makes it so that they're transferable.
So you're going, everything that we purchase from this day forward is always gonna be an SUV, a hybrid?
Yep.
Okay,
Well, hybrid until we get to the point where we can go to all electric,
all electric.
Yep.
Yeah,
which will be, I'm not, to thing, it will be in the future sometime. We're just not there yet.
yeah, right, yeah.
That'll honestly probably be mine or whoever the next chiefs for, next admin vehicle, maybe, but that's a whole different discussion for a different CIP meeting.
Right.
Okay,
So
Here's a
in
discussion.
2026, you'd actually trade in a vehicle.
So
So you go 2 years purchasing a vehicle and in 26, you're gonna trade something in.
we actually typically don't trade them in. We outright buy them and then the town auctions them.
Same
Because,
difference.
yeah, but yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Sorry,
Well,
yes.
Yeah,
I just
but
wanted to be transparent.
essentially,
And of course, the other big number is, can you replace the two officers you've been down for over a year?
Well, that's, that's.
I
our-
mean, that's a,
We're trying.
That's,
you-
yeah.
well, I know, but if you've got 7 cruisers and,
And that's why,
Two of them are
I'm
gonna
not
be sitting
proposing to buy
there.
two,
right, well, that's what I mean.
right? We'll buy one this year and then
Right.
one next year, because I don't want to buy two and have one sit around. Am I confident that we're gonna fill both slots? Yes, absolutely. The time frame,
Right,
I don't know. Yeah, we just started a new recruiting
Yeah.
campaign that I think is gonna make a huge difference. And then, but, in realistic, because
well, yeah,
everybody here's working,
But-
it's gonna take, it's gonna take 8 months, even if we hired both of them today.
it'd be 8 months
8
before
months
they're
before
on the
they're out
road.
on the road all by themselves. So that's why I'm saying, let's do one car
Right.
this year and then one car next year, because the reality is that, hopefully we have, we have some candidates right now we're still going through, but I'll be quite frank with everybody, I'm pretty picky about who I want
Right,
to
But
carry that
follow-
badge and Enfield.
following that through the road, over probably the last 10 years,
Mhm.
we've been consistently down one.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
that'd be fair to say, right? Yeah, I guess we.
Yeah, I mean, consistently, we're down
And,
one.
and if we're down one again next year and we're having this conversation and we don't.
Then we
have that
may say,
cost, then we
we're
may
not
say, let's
gonna
hold
go
off another year and
7-1.
pick it up. I don't see
Right.
buying a car for no reason. That is
Yeah.
obviously, what I'm asking is I guess I would say is, let's
This is
look
a-
at this program.
This is
buy
a
one
better
car for this
idea
year.
than the idea of we're gonna buy 7 all at the same time,
Absolutely.
because that was the idea last time. Was we're gonna buy 7 all at the same time and lease them.
Yeah.
well, it's probably pretty good
Right.
that you'll buy at least one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, it would just be one this year.
Right,
And then next year, but I want everybody, I also want to be transparent about, this is the program we're looking
Yeah.
at. And next year, when we're sitting here, when we have that 7th full-time slot slated to be filled or it's filled,
right,
say, hey, let's buy that 7th car so we can have, go with this program. And in the long run, it'll say, even if we're at 6 and we're not filled next year, we're still in this program, right? Where we can longevity of the cars. Because even right now,
you got what,
we
8
have
months lead
we have-
time
yeah.
on a cruiser?
Oh, no, I get them right away.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay,
how many of these are the hybrids?
That we have right now?
Yeah.
All, so
all
3.
but the sedan,
All the what?
The sedan just rotated out and
That's
it
what I
got
mean,
replaced with a
yeah.
hybrid. So, 3 of the 5.
Yeah.
3 to 5.
Yep. And we've seen, a
Are-
significant gas savings with the hybrids.
Are you is it getting better if you went over 110,000 miles or do you have any experience with that yet?
We're not there yet.
Okay,
We're not there yet. But what I'll tell you is with the hybrids, what I've been able to negotiate with Ford is that, with the hybrids versus the gas, they give me 100,000 mile warranty on it.
oh, well, okay,
They easily give that up in negotiation. And so it even helps cover the town further that we're able to, if you go with the gas, they're like, no, you get your 3-year, 36,000 mile. You can argue with them with the hybrid. Well, I'm not replacing that battery if it dies, and this and that. And so they
Right.
give you the 100,000 mile.
Right.
And Ford treats us really well, it's about building relationships. We had and that's the end that's out there right now. It's a gas. We were at 38,000 miles and the rack and pinion went in it, right? Rack and pinion's about $3,000. I called Ford up and said, Ford Fleet and said, hey, we're a small town. Like, we can't afford this. And they did it for $200. So Ford does take care of us in that aspect. And the hybrids, we're seeing a significant gas mileage change. They're in the second or third generation of the hybrids and they're getting a little bit better, a little bit better. So.
So the, your car, the unmarked one,
Mhm.
is not hybrid?
No.
And one of the patrols is not?
Correct. The one that's assigned to Lieutenant Fry, which I think I think it's marked on there,
The
the
what?
lieutenant's car.
Yeah, it's got 50,000 miles on
Yep.
it, 29,
Oh, yeah.
2019.
There you go. Yep,
Which
That's the
one is
last
the sedan
non-
that's out there? What year is that sedan that's out there?
2018? Yep, 2018.
Okay, so that's the,
That's not on there because
That's
it's
not there,
rotated
it's
out.
already
That's
rotated
okay.
out.
It's
Yeah,
rotated
It's
out.
rotated
Yep,
out, yeah.
the town kept it as an
Yeah, we ought to
admin
keep
vehicle.
that.
It's got a,
Our facility maintenance person's
Right.
gonna use it, and then we can also use it to send people to training.
okay, so you're gonna be taking the markings off it, I presume?
yeah, that's why it's out there. The highway department's gonna pull all the markings and the lights and stuff out of it. The lights and stuff are already disabled in it, stuff.
Now, the other question you probably can't answer is 2 years down the road, Ford's gonna be the only game in town.
Mhm.
Because Dodge is not going to be doing it anymore. Do you see real big increases if they're the only game in town?
I would hope that if you're the only game in town, you have so many customers, you don't need to increase the cost that much, but I don't know.
Yeah,
They may not be, Dodge stopped doing the Charger, but they really,
EV,
the what?
if they're gonna do electrical,
They're gonna police electric.
Yeah.
they're only gonna do
Yeah.
electric.
But they're also pushing their Durango police
Yeah,
package and stuff like
Okay.
that.
okay,
And
so,
Chevy's got the Suburban.
And Chevy's
Right.
really pushing their Suburban
The
police package as
Suburban,
well.
that's
Yeah,
a pretty
Yeah.
big vehicle.
it is. We're not interested in
It
those.
is,
They're,
yeah,
right.
yeah, we do.
state police will probably go with it.
They are. And so they,
Even the Durango probably doesn't do as well as maintenance, right?
so we do, we don't just arbitrarily go with Ford.
No,
Every so often we contact the manufacturers, they send us a vehicle to T&E and this and that. And, I don't drive them as much as our patrol people do because they're in the cars much more than I am. And we just routinely go back to Ford and say, the Dodges have a lot more maintenance to them.
Right.
The
I would think
Chevys
so.
are not as driver friendly.
Yeah.
And so the Ford and, Ford they prepackage their vehicles so that when we take it to our outfitters,
Right.
they're like, ready to go.
What kind of limits do you think you'd put on somebody living out of town and getting an assigned vehicle?
I think I wouldn't want to put a specific limit. It's definitely a discussion I'd have with the town manager, on a case by case basis. Me personally, if you're within, a 5 or 10 minute drive to the town line, I think that's very reasonable. One of the other hidden benefits, I guess you say, or not hidden benefits of, having to take home cars, which I mentioned before, is that, I love visibility. And if you
Yeah.
have a cruiser, in somebody's yard, ask some of their neighbors how much it slows down traffic sometimes as they say it. And I'm one that where Enfield won't have, unmarked cars in the future. That's not a me thing, I think that, look, everybody, that you might fool everybody for about 10 minutes when you walk it through town, when you drive it through town, and then everybody knows it's an unmarked cruiser. So why not put, police on the side of it and let everybody know as you're driving around town? Because even my car, as a chief, I don't need an unmarked car. I inherited that car, but my next car will be a marked car because even if I'm driving to a meeting at the school, when people see that sign that say police on the side, if they had some twinge in the back of their head that said, I might do something a little silly, they go, maybe not today, and so that's kind of one of the other benefits.
Yeah.
To add into that fleet.
It's recognized your marked car for quite a while.
Oh, and once you've seen it more than a couple times, it's almost silly to be,
My Hyundai worked for a couple of months. They thought it was an unmarked state trooper.
I have this, you know, I'm a numbers guy, right?
absolutely. And if my numbers are wrong, please tell me, but I did have somebody else check them just to make sure.
Well, I have a question on the mileage numbers. So
Yep.
how do you get to 72,000 miles a year when like the 2020 patrol car only has 70 on it?
Because it doesn't have the what, 20,
Like, how do you get?
so that's total miles out of all the cruisers.
Okay, got it. All right. Okay,
No, if that was each car, boy, we'd be hurt.
Right.
I know, that's what I
Yeah,
was trying.
no,
to
that's
do.
our total cruiser mileage for the whole PD. a
Okay,
year.
Any other questions?
No, I
So-
like the plan.
so the
Okay,
proposal is essentially not to do anything different this year.
No, the proposal this year would be to go
to buy one,
I want.
to buy
Buy
a
one.
car this
Oh,
year.
because
we
normally,
were not going to be buying one this year,
okay,
We actually technically per our old rotation, we should be buying a car,
right?
but, and I can't take the credit for Luke and
Right.
Portland's being able to manage our fleet. We could, you know, to be
Get away
very
with
transparent, we could take a year off
Right.
and have a car, but that's because of their management of our
Right.
fleet. We're in the opportunity where we can add a car and not incur the cost of saying, having to buy two this year.
Is
So
Ford doing anything for financing or,
I don't know.
I mean, we're talking buying it outright.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alls I can say is when so most people are waiting 8 months to buy their cars and this and that. And when I call the relationships that I built over the years and I say, hey, we're buying a car, we're not financing a car, I find them. I even found 3 for Canaan this year and they couldn't find any cars. You know, I was talking to Sergeant, Chief Porter over there and he's like,
Yeah.
I can't find these cars. And I was like, hold on a second, made a phone call and got them 3 cars, so that they could outfit their fleet because let's face it, they're our backup. If they don't have good cars to back us up, you know, it's all about working together.
Are they buying hybrids also, Fords?
That's their goal, yeah.
Anybody else? Any questions?
how many miles do you usually have on a car when you get rid of it?
About 120, I want to say. So, you know, we float anywhere between 110 to 140 we've been at. It just depends on,
Condition.
the condition of the car, right? If we can keep going, we'll go. Sometimes you get a car that hits that kind of 105, 110, and I
And you
spend,
know it's time to get rid of it.
well, put it this way, my whole maintenance budget for the year is $10,000.
Yeah.
And I've spent $10,000 just trying to keep one cruiser on the road for a year. It's at like
Yeah.
95 to 100,000 miles. And so,
You want to get rid of that one?
right.
Yeah.
Now, we think that when we individually, so all the numbers that you have for the 7 years
Mhm.
is averaging the cars that trade them in at 120,000 miles.
Okay.
Right? But we believe once we individually assign them to people and we have, you know, they got to answer to their supervisor and the maintenance records for each individual car where, let's face it, you know, the same person drives it every day. State police get 140 to 180 out of their cars.
200 sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we're thinking
Yeah.
that we can be in that 140 to 150 range and still have reliable cars that, you know, if it's not time to trade it in and buy another one, then we're not gonna do it just because. We're gonna do it because the car's reached the end of its life cycle.
Or it starts to be maintenance cost is very high.
Right, exactly. That's exactly what it is.
A lot of those state police cars though are Sam going up and down 89,
Right.
and it's kind of at a level, it's not a stop and go.
It's not the same as driving Bear
It's not-
Road
Exactly.
and Bog Road and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You guys have to be doing more than 72,000 miles a year.
Well, you gotta remember so that's an average. So when it says the average officer drives that much,
Uh-huh.
I don't drive that much. You know,
Right.
Luke doesn't drive, and we went with a low average. I don't want to give false numbers of saying like, you know, some years where it, you know, could be 80,000. It just depends on what do we have going on.
Well, it must be the lieutenant, the 2019 patrol car. He doesn't drive as much.
Right.
Okay.
I make a
Because
move
it's
like that.
obvious.
Anybody else, any questions?
No.
Set?
Good.
Okay, thanks, Roy.
No problem. We have one more that we snuck in. I'm gonna Luke come up and talk about.
Okay,
CIP.
one more, what?
Oh, well,
What-
is it in
what-
there? Or
very
is
on the
it?
back.
Here.
It's CIP, but it's kind of a discussion we wanted to have with
Good
you.
to hear.
Yeah,
So, I'll let Luke come up and he can answer questions about it, but, so we were notified this year, so we have, I'm actually proud to say that Enfield PD was the first PD in the Upper Valley to ever start carrying tasers. And that was way back when I was a young little guy that was in charge of defensive tactics, stuff like that. We were the first PD to buy them and outfit them and put them out on the streets, and they're a great tool, right? They help prevent injuries and minimize, exposure, both, not just for the officers, but for, people that are just having a bad day. So unfortunately, we were notified by Taser this year that our X2 that we're carrying, they are saying that the shelf life of those is over and that they're discontinuing even producing them anymore.
How many years are?
5 years.
They're not
So
supporting.
some of ours are like 7 years. Some of them are like 7 or so, but Taser,
Yeah.
No hardware, no software support, no hardware.
no software support, no hardware support. Also, no more cartridges, no more
No
batteries,
cartridges, no, yeah,
and even more so, no more legal support.
right,
Right, yeah,
Right.
exactly.
right.
That's the biggest part.
Liabilities all,
Liability.
all
Yeah.
the towns, that's right.
Also, our body cameras, we were also the very first, one of the very first PDs, to carry body cameras. And they're made by the same company, Axon.
I'm glad you're going with Axon.
Yes, yeah, they're great. This past year, Lieutenant Fry, applied for a grant, was able to get a grant, so we could be even more technical, and they
After
we
the
use the
fiasco
evidence.com cloud and
in
this and that.
Manchester, after the fiasco in Manchester.
And so, so basically, we're asking to replace all the tasers.
Yeah.
And the body cameras, because the body cameras are starting to wear out. The batteries don't last a full shift in
Mhm.
several of them. Some of them, like they're just a little beat up and stuff like that. The total cost is $40,550. What I'm proposing to the CIP is that we have a year that, we had 2 vacancies.
Right.
So I have that money left in my salaries line.
Yeah.
I think it would be dubious spending to the taxpayers to use some of that money and not pull it out of the CIP, but use that out of that
Why
line.
did you ask the budget chairman that?
Well, that's my job, and I agree, and we've talked about that, and I think that's a good use of those funds to.
Of the undesignated funds.
Well, it wouldn't be on
No.
designated funds. It'd come out of
We're gonna
my
come out
line.
of
It's
this
a
year's
current
budget.
It'll
budget.
come out of his.
It's gonna come out of my bottom
It just
line.
needs to go to CIP because it's over the 10,000.
Right.
But our plan
We
is
move
to
it from
spend
line.
it out of.
Yeah,
this
you actually, you
year's
make
take
a
it out of
line
your-
change.
It would come
general
out of my
budget.
same line.
That's right.
It's just, it's
Right,
just,
come out of the salary
it's
line.
come out of my salary. I would actually, I don't like to, I would put it to my equipment line.
That's what I'm saying, is you
Overage,
do a, we'll do
But my
a
bottom
In,
line.
in the
would still be
23 budget or the 24 budget?
23,
23,
my current budget.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
put it,
Can't roll over.
get it now,
It'd be undesignated if you do the next
Yeah.
year.
Right.
right,
It'll fit in this year's budget and
Right.
still have money that falls into undesignated.
So you'll do that before the end of this year? You'll
I'll,
make the, if it's
yes.
approved, you'll make the replacement almost right away?
as soon as Ed gives me the thumbs up, Luke will hit the enter
Hopefully
button.
tomorrow
you're
morning.
gonna request,
Yeah,
there'll be a request. to the
As long as you
select board.
guys.
when was the last time somebody used a taser?
That's as long as
This
he
year.
doesn't break his thumb.
This year?
Yeah.
Yeah,
We won't need a request. of the
We
select
average
board.
probably, well, one a year.
We were bringing it to you to talk through it. If you guys are okay, we're spending it out of this year's budget.
Always call that.
They don't need to approve that. It's not coming out of the
It's
CIP.
not coming out of CIP, that's right, okay, you're right. Yeah.
So we,
people comply.
It's
we-
my
you're just
authority.
bringing
It's
it
not-
to
we're
us.
bringing
Yeah,
it to you
yeah.
because it's above.
Because it's
$10,000.
above
how long
10,000.
do the body cameras hold, a record?
so we follow the state, so New Hampshire has a very specific state law regarding the body cameras, so they're uploaded daily. So as soon as you put them in our rack.
Yeah.
It's automatically uploaded.
Okay,
Lieutenant Fry is the manager of the system, and so we hold the body cameras per the state law, right? So, certain ones are held for, if they're part of a case and not adjudicated, they're held for a certain amount of time. Other ones are automatically destroyed after a certain amount of prescribed time by the law. So we follow the law, the specifics of the law. We follow the max time of the law because we also don't want to also deprive anybody who, makes a request
sure.
for a video, right? But if you make a request after the prescribed time, we have to follow the law. It's been destroyed. But if
That's
you make it before that, we make it available as long as it fits under the rules that we are allowed to.
I thought you said that when you put the body camera down into the thing, that it automatically uploads.
It does.
Okay.
And then we have to delete them after a certain amount of time, because that's what the state law says we have to do.
Right.
Oh, you have to.
We have to, yeah. That's a legislator's rule.
Right. You need to vote on this tonight then?
This, I don't know if it's a vote or consensus, but we wanted to come to you guys if you guys are okay with the expenditure we're gonna do.
So you gotta make sure he doesn't break his thumb tomorrow.
No, I think I already got the thumbs up from him. We had the conversation
Let's make it
beforehand.
real. We'll do a motion.
We talk, so we got the approval.
And so your thumb didn't get crushed.
He's got the okay from me if you guys are okay with it.
I'll accept a motion
Second,
we want the motion to just say.
just say to purchase the
To
body
purchase
cameras and the
Body
tasers
cameras, tasers
as
used
described.
As proposed.
as proposed using this year's general funds.
correct. Agreed, second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you, Chief.
We're all
He
set.
opposed.
Everybody.
We're all
See you on
set.
the tenth?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I got them all warmed up for you, Phil. Thank you.
Phil, you're up now, Phil.
You're up, Phil.
But the money's gone.
Yeah. the money-
Yeah, really.
No more money.
Just spend it.
So you can go to the restroom or whatever you want.
If the money's gone, I don't know,
He doesn't.
but anyway.
So you got a surprise for us?
Well, no, it's not really a surprise, but we'll start with the other ones first.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'd like to start with the SCBA's.
Yeah.
The SCBA's
Okay.
were purchased in 2019.
Where is these? Where are these?
Those are new in 2019. They have a 15-year life.
Yeah, but I mean, I was looking for where this request was.
And so we're not anywhere near it, but talking with Ed and talking with Elisa, it's something that needs to be forecasted a little bit to the CIP so that it's not a big surprise down the road, because it probably will be about 120,000 investment at that point. And SCBA's, in my opinion, should be replaced all at once, so everyone on the department is using the same equipment, so that we're not trying to remember which is which and which equipment goes with which. These are a life safety piece of equipment. So
When you use initials, I don't know what it means.
self-contained breathing apparatus,
Okay.
or air pack.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm sorry. So right now, having been purchased in 2019, we're 4 years into it, so we're looking at 11 years, which goes out beyond the CIP's.
2030.
Right.
So 2034 works for what you're suggesting?
It would be all approach. We'd probably want to move that back, say, 2 years, or 1 year. I don't know what delivery would be at that point. And we'd probably want to have some time to be looking at different manufacturers. Manufacturers tend to stay pretty competitive in price. From different folks and just perhaps past experience, but, again, I just wanted to bring it, it's a large dollar amount. I wanted to bring it to the board. I wanted the board to be
They're
able
also
to.
a great grant opportunity.
Yeah.
You can't write that grant till we get there. You write it a year before for the AFG grant and they will not fund it.
Your stuff has to be out of date. It's got to be out of service. They don't want you there before it's absolutely needed.
and when will that happen?
It's going to be like 11 years from now, so 20, we can call it 2034. That's fine. Yep.
Okay.
So do we have to wait till 2034 to apply for any grant possibility?
Yeah.
Same
Yeah.
thing. We've got to
Okay.
prove that the equipment is out of date.
And
We'll
we
look at
we
that.
may
There
not
wouldn't be a
even
gap
there.
though. We wouldn't have
Most of
out-of-date
us won't.
equipment.
We'll look at that cycle. It's gotta be going out of date. We
Right.
may be able to, just depending on how the grant cycle flows, that we may be able to apply in 2033 for 2034 purchase.
Yeah, we don't have a gap without equipment then.
Right.
No, we would not have a gap without equipment, and not that it is the best way to go about it, but if equipment still pass, and somebody is certifying it, you can get that year
Mhm.
Couple.
before you get into the legal
Right.
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 side and the dangerous side.
Is this equipment tested every year to
Yes,
make sure it's
Yep.
okay? It is.
Yes, sir.
And is that somebody in the fire department or
No.
somebody outside?
Independent, we hire an independent company. It's the company that we purchase them from that they come to the fire station, test them all. They test the mass. We have to do the bottles on a 5-year rotation. Our air compressor gets tested to make sure that it's breathing air, pure air that's being put into it. So, yeah.
And how much of a maintenance cost is that? Or for you
Well,
to.
for testing,
to
for
do that,
testing the
yeah.
SCBA's, I think this year, we've got like 16 of them, and I believe it was like a $50, but that we put
Yeah.
into our budget as part
So
of
that's
our-
not bad at all. Okay. I didn't know whether it's thousands of dollars or what, $50 is peanuts. Okay.
Times the number that we have.
Right, yeah, but
Yeah.
still, it's still,
It's a
Still
piece,
rel-
piece of the puzzle.
yeah, it's relatively small though.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, okay.
So that's the first one.
Should that number be increased because it will be the cost 10 years from now? and not the
That
cost
number
today?
is increased.
Okay,
And
Alright.
in talking with Ed, I think we feel comfortable with that number. In.
And we can keep updating that as we go along, but just kind of giving you guys a heads up of where we're at.
I was gonna ask how many there were, but
This is
you
the
answered
one.
the 16.
I'm gonna do the big one.
What we're required to have is every seat on the trucks will
Yeah.
have one. So that if we fill the trucks, every person can.
So I would just add,
That'll
I would
come up
add,
in a little bit.
When we can fill the truck. But that's another whole story.
I would add the quantity.
Yep.
Like how many units?
Well, look, that'll also change that.
That will change.
I was gonna say, we're gonna propose something in a little bit that's gonna change that,
You're being sneaky.
No,
always.
no. So anybody questions on? the
We'll have
SCBA?
questions in 8 or 9 years.
Okay. And you'll-
If we're here.
And this is, I think in fairness
Right.
to building,
I think
I know,
building,
I understand.
because 8 or 9 years is
I'm not gonna
probably.
be here.
I think we just got commitment. You're gonna be here 8 years.
I'll be 80 years old. I don't
I'm-
think I'll
I'm-
be here.
I'm not.
Right.
Next one is the radios, radio
Yeah.
replacement. Those do not need to be replaced all at once so that we don't have to spend $5,000 a unit, and get into 30 units at a time and so forth. So what proposing here is for the CIP to have the 15,000 in a year, per year. Our hope is that we're able to take it from our budget. And I mean, the way it is going right now, it's similar to what, Roy is saying as far as, with the tasers and the cameras. There's gonna be some years that we're not gonna be able to. We're just, as our department grows, and it will grow, we're going to be using all of our budget lines pretty completely.
It is $15,000 for one unit
No,
or 2 units or 3 units?
that would buy 3 units.
3 units, okay.
And,
What's useful life on them, Phil? Depends how
generally,
many times they drop them. or-
yeah, and so much of it depends upon the manufacturers.
Right.
The manufacturers change to a new model, they don't carry over the parts, they don't carry over the pieces, they don't carry over the batteries. So I would say probably the 5 to 7
Okay.
would be a usable number. And that will change again as they use more as with this.
Frequency doesn't change though normally, right?
What do you mean?
Frequency on the radio.
No, you
No.
own that.
You're.
Well, that's all through Hanover Dispatch. We just,
Oh, okay, it's all in through.
all through Hanover.
Okay,
We do not have a local frequency that we maintain whatsoever.
But Hanover actually buys the frequency from the
Right.
FCC, so it doesn't change.
it doesn't change, that's.
Is there a better manufacturer than others? I mean, have you found that?
We
you know-
have found Motorola to be the Cadillac.
Okay,
I think that they, stand up the best, offer the best features. I don't know that we need to go.
Been in the market
with-
a long-
With their Cadillac radio.
No.
yeah.
But,
They've been in the market a
they
long
make,
time too.
large departments, we don't need a large department radio that has all sorts of features where you can use your cell phone and Bluetooth, and we need radio communication.
Can you talk to the police?
Pardon?
Can you, on your radio, can you talk to the police?
Yeah.
Okay.
Goes vice versa.
Goes
Yeah.
through the.
But that is somewhere you don't wanna take low bid. I mean.
Right,
the safety
exactly,
communication
exactly, no.
Yeah.
issue that you want a good rate.
And
It
you
sounds
want-
like you wanna buy them out of this year's budget.
I would like to.
I suggest a motion again.
This year, but he's also proposing.
One for next year.
Yes,
to see how-
$15,000
right.
a
To
year.
keep that on.
50,000 a year
on
is the
road.
rolling pattern.
Yeah.
But since it's this year's budget, and you buy them before the end of the year, obviously.
Yeah.
I think we ought to do it.
If we're gonna have money in the budget every year, does it belong in CIP or just a general?
Anything
Because it's over 10,000,
10,000.
it has to come here.
I thought he said it was gonna be, it's part of his budget.
It's still
This year.
this year.
I think what
And then
we're gonna
CIP in the
do is
future.
on a rolling basis, we're gonna look at his budget at CIP time and decide if we can get it out of the budget or if we need
We
to
gotta
talk
take it
to
out
the
of
CIP to get CIP.
Yeah.
money.
Because
That makes
CIP was meant for flattening out the big things.
Right,
Yeah,
I
Not
agree.
really for sticking in something that happens every year for the
Right.
next 100
It
years.
doesn't, except it is infrastructure or it is a support issue that's over $10,000.
Over the 10.
It still has to be approved by CIP. but it
Correct.
I
doesn't
think,
have to look at
yeah.
budget.
I
Right,
think that's the thing, there's multiple ways to fund CIP projects. CIP funds certain projects, but the CIP plan has anything over $10,000, that's equipment, those types of things. Some of the software, those types of things we buy don't actually come through the CIP, but the radios, SCBA's, those type of bigger
Right.
purchases do. So he's bringing it, talking to it. We want to talk about, what we've talked about in meetings is getting these on a rotating cycle. So we don't have that lump sum. We need 30 radios this year.
right.
Let's plan
Yeah.
on 15,000 a year. Let's level that budget out. Let's completely let's replace them. Let's make sure we have good radios, good communications. If we can fund them out of the budget, we'll fund them out of the budget. If we don't, we'll talk to CIP. And we'll figure out either we put them into next year's and we order them and we see if we
Right.
can get some at the end of the year, or we ask for the motion to the
Mhm.
select board to purchase it this year out of the CIP.
okay, then the next one that I have is a biggie.
Well, no, we
Do we
need a
wanna-
motion. We want.
So a motion to accept it, to purchase 3 radios this year out of your current budget. And then we'll roll into the CIP plan that you've suggested for future years.
Got a second? Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Purchase your radios.
Disagree?
Get your,
It's another thumbs up.
His thumb is gonna get
No, it's
awfully
not.
tired.
So after having attended some meetings, some trainings and listening to other people, I felt pretty obligated to bring this one before the CIP. And I know this comes as a bit of a ooh,
Yeah, right.
okay, but right now, the intention would be, as I've written, would be to replace 2 vehicles with one engine 5, the current engine 5 and the current tanker. This would be a pumper tanker that would have 2,000 gallons of water. It would carry a ladder. It would have a 1,250 gallon pump. But due to NFPA certifications, they can't call it an engine because it doesn't have all the features of an engine. So it is still a certified pumper tanker,
Right.
okay? Engine 5 is an American LaFrance. It's a 2001. American LaFrance is out of business.
Mhm.
The tanker is a 1998. It is a standard 7-speed, straight 7-speed. And we do not have people, we have very few people that can drive it.
It's a, not, what kind of a vehicle?
It's a tanker and it's a manual shift.
Oh, standard transmission.
Standard transmission, standard 7-speed.
Yeah.
New
People
new
Lloyd
people
drives
coming
it.
on.
Yeah.
Lloyd drives it.
Well, right now,
Right.
Lloyd
Lloyd
can
can
drive
drive
it. Kim can drive it. We've got a couple other people, including myself, that can drive it.
Yes.
And I emphasize, drive it
At some speed.
at some speed. We can get it there.
Right.
Stripping the gears all along.
All along,
Yeah.
we did get some work done on it last year, hoping that replacing the clutch and the backing plate, and I don't remember what all, was going to help the situation. But the truck is the truck that it's gonna be.
Right.
And we've had a couple different people look at it. So the question was also proposed of, can we put an automatic into that? And the only way,
Yeah.
thank you, the only way you put an automatic into that is put a different chassis in under it.
Right.
Because you cannot take it as it is built and put an
Right.
automatic transmission
Right.
into it. And you can't put a 23 chassis in under it. You've got to put a year somewhat comparable to what
What difference?
it is
Right.
to make that change.
Yeah.
So with that said, talking, so I went,
Question.
yeah, go ahead.
You made a small comment that I don't know what the implications are. It can't be called an engine.
Right.
It
What
can't
does
be
that
certified as
As a
an engine.
fire engine.
It's,
That means that the town of Enfield would have 2 engines. If we were to replace engine 5,
Mhm.
we'd have engine 3 and engine 1.
Right.
We'd still have this new piece of equipment as a tanker, which is replacing a tanker, but we still have the pumping capability of an engine.
It'll be a pumper tanker
It's a
as opposed to a
pumper
pumper engine.
NFPA has certifications of
Right.
standards of equipment, and it wouldn't meet the standards of a class 4 pumper.
Right.
And so what's the impact to the town for that?
I don't see that there's
None.
any impact whatsoever.
We'd have one less piece of equipment.
Yeah.
Right.
A
So-
piece of
So
equipment.
no ISO effect necessarily.
I would see no ISO effect. A
ISO
few
based
years ago, ISO was brought up in some other discussions, and there was this discussion that ISO would change if we didn't, have this and didn't have that. I don't see that whatsoever.
ISO is based on water to the seam.
Yep.
So a 2,000 gallon tanker bringing water to the seam
Is
is
the
gonna
same as-
keep your
Right.
ISO rate.
And my proposal would be that the pumper tanker, this new pumper tanker would be at the new building in place of engine 5. And leaving engine 3 in Enfield Center, so that as long as we still have people there that are, responding and still gives us that engine on the other side, I don't see it as a detriment any more than to the rest of the town not having it over here. Because you're gonna have somebody that's gonna go, and it's how we order the pieces out of the station. So if it's a fire in Enfield Center, engine would go, anchor would be the first piece out of Union Street, the new
Right.
station, to follow that up. Time-wise, I don't see that that's going to make a change, whether we have it on this side or that side.
You mean the tanker?
Correct.
The new fire engine, what, you talk about engine 5.3, what engine is that?
The newest one is engine one.
Okay, now, does that also have ability to carry water?
Has 1,000 gallons.
1,000 gallons,
Yeah,
okay,
both the other engines, the engines across the board have 1,000 gallons.
okay,
So one way or another, whether we were going from the new station, it would be an engine and the tanker, we would have 3,000 gallons. Or if it would be from engine three leaving Enfield Center, the tanker would be first out, so we're there with 3,000
with
gallons.
3,000 gallons, okay.
I think we should put that in perspective though, too. You know,
I'm sorry, what?
a fire hose puts out 150 to
Yeah.
300 gallons a
Right.
minute. So you're talking, an engine has 3 to 5 minutes of water.
Right.
So, and when you say 1,000 gallons, a lot of people think, wow, that's
Right.
a lot of water.
It's not.
You have 3 to 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So a 2,000 gallon tanker behind that, you've got
Right.
another 15 to 20 minutes.
What,
Right.
what-
And
I'm,
the ability to refill it.
And the
To get
ability
back to the fire.
Well,
well,
yes and no.
yeah, right,
Okay,
because,
Because if you're coming in, there's gonna be other equipment behind it.
Right,
Mhm.
right,
I would rather lose that tanker to be able to give that engine the other 2,000 and our run cards add more tankers
okay,
so that we have more tankers coming in with our
Okay.
mutual aid people. And that's done across the board. That's
Yeah.
not just an Enfield.
where's your next tanker coming from? then?
Next tanker will be
Springfield?
Canaan, Grafton, Springfield,
Yeah,
depending upon the
Where it is.
fire.
yeah, but you would go through the tanker first, the 2,000 gallons first, because if
No.
you had to go and get more, you'd go and fill that up, whereas the engine would,
By then, we're gonna have that those mutual
you're gonna
aid
have that all
tankers
there.
behind us.
okay, all right.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
even anticipate
Here's-
our tanker
Yeah.
typically going back for any more
Do
water.
they fill it up from Mascoma, or do they go and,
depends where,
Depends
on the
where.
fire. Yeah.
could be down on 4A, could be.
Could
any
be,
place.
I mean, I think right now we have, just to give you an idea, I think we have nine
Standpipes.
static draft sites, and that's without open water.
Yeah.
So
okay, so
it's
you're not,
gonna
you're
be geographically where it is.
you're not coming and using Enfield water supply. No, you're not doing that. You're
We're
going,
coming to the,
Yeah.
we may come back to the
Standpipe.
station and fill
Right.
off the Enfield water supply, but
Right.
during a fire, it's gonna be the closest source
Right.
that
If
you
you're-
have.
On the Bog Road, you're gonna pull off that
Gonna be on the marsh.
to the marsh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here's the question, what would be a straight tanker cost? Not a pumper tanker, a straight tanker.
Minimal, because really all
Minimal
you're
difference? Okay.
changing is what that pump capacity would be,
Right. Okay,
minimal.
Well, and I think it really adds a detriment to what we could do. I mean, we've had some talks about that. Could be your first response if it needed to be.
well, yeah,
Could
we had,
still pump.
why I say that is we had also had discussions a few years ago about you don't replace engine 5. That you only need the 2.
Mhm.
Well, and this in my mind is taking
It's not
two
a-
to make one.
Right, exactly. It's not replacing 5, it's replacing the 2 of
Towns,
them together.
towns triple, quadruple the population that we have run with 2 engines.
Right, that's what I mean, yeah.
Well, and what I've talked to him about was this, with this having a pump, it almost
Right.
can act as our reserve engine.
Yeah.
So if the one in Enfield Center goes down, you can relocate the tanker with a
Right.
pump and be able to respond and have a quick response.
Okay,
And still be able to pump with it and not have to wait for a engine to show up on scene. So I
So
think,
there'd be some hose on this then.
yes,
yeah,
it would be
Yeah,
ready
real.
to
Be ready to
respond.
roll and
Yeah,
ready to pull a hose. It has accommodations for 1.5 and 2.5. The only thing that it doesn't have is accommodation for the large diameter for
Right.
the long water
Right.
supply leg.
Right.
One of the other parts of the discussion that has made me bring it to you folks is 2026, I believe. I'm not
Mid twenty.
Boy, that's what I was.
Okay, 2027, there's a new EPA motor emissions. So twofold here. We order a truck in 2024, we don't see it until 2027. So manufacturers are starting to make these trucks with this new emission now.
Okay,
We can get before this new emission if a decision was made to buy this. They haven't even gotten a firm cost. They know it would be at least 30, 60, and I've heard from some even up to 100,000 increase just in this emission. So with that, and they're seeing approximately a 10% increase per year on price of vehicles. Price of,
What's the emission thing that you're talking about?
it's a new EPA regulation. I don't know what it is, Keith. Manufacturers are working on trying to meet this new EPA.
Are these
requirement.
diesel trucks?
Yeah.
Okay.
The other thing we talked about is, say we do get in that, we wait a little bit and get in, we don't want to be in that first or second generation of a new emission system, and they don't usually work right out of the gate.
I'd much rather have that 5 years, somebody else be a guinea pig on than.
So if I understand your pricing right, you've got 2.25 in for 2024. And then the second payment is receipt of the vehicle,
Both,
at which time you'll trade in or sell, dispose of.
it would be a lump sum payment. We do not have to make any
Well, and
payment.
I can talk to that. E1, which is the company we got the quote from. If we go with them, they don't require any payment until delivered.
And delivery
Okay.
is not expected until,
2026.
But if we can front load some payment, they give you a discount for that.
Right, right.
So we can do, what I put in here was half the payment now, half the payment upon delivery. We could do 1/3 payments
Yeah,
the next
so we-
3
would
years.
we still get the discount?
I think we could still get a
We could-
discount, probably not as steep.
Work some. I'm not sure what it would.
Yeah,
Maybe we'd
okay.
be in the 2.5 to
Yeah.
3%. This looks like it might be like a 4%
4%.
discount.
but
So
Okay.
this vehicle is not 225,000,
it's
it's
450,
it's
450.
450.
It's 450-ish, yeah.
right.
And that's
Well, and by
before that
doing.
discount you're speaking of or after?
That's the quote we got. We'd
That's
have to
close, yeah.
negotiate.
Negotiate the discount.
That's almost as expensive as
Not
fire
anymore.
engine one.
Not
Not
anymore.
Not anymore.
Lebanon just placed an
Yeah.
order for almost the twin to our engine one,
750?
780, 790.
Yeah,
Hanover just ordered one for over $1 million.
yeah.
And we paid, what was
Five,
it,
five,
five, yeah.
568. We have a deal.
568, they're going out of sight.
Well, I mean,
We would,
That's what's happening.
it's something that we don't have a control of, and I'm looking at this as
When they're
How do
3
we
years out,
That's fewer and fewer
save
manufacturers.
some money.
well, and
Yeah,
they're 3
right.
years out, there's
Right, they're
demand.
3 years out.
When you play supply and demand.
Yeah.
It's a reputable company that will be in business.
E1,
E1,
Yes,
yeah.
unless,
Well-
yeah,
and part
the
of,
American LaFrance, that was the last one they built.
and the reason,
Well, and they were
quite
reputable
honestly.
too.
They were reputable
around
too, but it was
yes.
still the last one they built.
70s until.
Right, in the 70s, they were the
Yeah.
What was our, fire engine one? Was that?
E1.
E1.
This would give us all, if, and again, we'd have to go out with an RFP, we'd have to get our pricing.
Right.
And then decisions being made, but
Right.
my hope would be that we could do the E1. Then we have an E1 fleet.
Right,
They are very responsive to us. We deal with the same company, so if we have a breakdown, we had, I don't remember what it was, something on engine 3.
right,
I called them the afternoon about 4 o'clock, it was the light tower. The light tower was
Yeah.
problematic. I called them in the afternoon about 4 o'clock. The guy called me at 6:30 and said, what time can you meet me there?
Right.
AM, 6:30 AM.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
very responsive. I think that we have a very good working relationship with them.
And the Upper Valley's got a lot of E1s at this point.
And the Upper Valley has a lot of E1s. We can combine our testing, we could combine,
much, yeah.
you know, other things with other departments.
exception of
with, you
Windsor
know,
with their
for instance,
Pearsons.
To do it, to work out.
3 of the.
And I
4
can just
had it over
imagine
funds.
that we're gonna make it a
Right.
standard transmission, right?
Oh, first, I think one of the first things you'll see on that list is that it is an automatic.
So we're talking, we're also talking cash.
Gee, if we
purchase,
made
not
a standard transmission, it might be a lot, $100,000 less.
Well, let me tell you what,
Because
the
I
tanker
will
that we
tell you,
have
it's
right
gonna be
now,
hard
that's
getting the bond
exactly what
passed for
happened.
$500,000.
Really?
That
We
was
said you're not
ordered
gonna get, we're not
as
gonna
an
get a fire
automatic
truck for
transmission.
50 years.
Yeah.
And it was
Right, I
going
was
to
just
be
gonna ask.
another 90
Right.
days to get it,
No,
and
it's
the
something you
decision
guys
was
really need to
made,
look
no,
at.
go
Yeah.
with the
We
standard.
added it last minute, knowing that it was really up to the purchase price this year, so it may not be
Right.
something that we're able to do, but
So
we can
when's the
look at
last time you
that.
bought one?
2 years ago.
2 years ago, and we had said that we weren't gonna buy another one for 10 to 12
Yeah,
years,
10 years, but
but,
this makes sense.
but the other problem was we went 10 years between 1 and 3 when we were supposed to do them back to back.
I just, as
How
I,
long do they, usual life is what?
25.
25 years.
And we would
But I
have,
mean, the one we replaced last year, 2 years ago, was 35 years old? Was it like
All right.
80?
so call it 25, so and we would
25.
have, we would have 3 pieces of equipment.
You have 3 pieces of equipment.
Within a 12-year period.
Right, so
Yeah.
you would have to do it every 7 years if you want to keep on the cycle. So saying you're not gonna do it for
Right.
12 years already doesn't,
Right.
But what I like,
Although we only had two.
what I like is you can do a third up front and then a third and a third.
Yeah.
And breaking it up because we've got so much cost as it is with the fire department, with a
I'm
new,
just saying,
and
on
a new,
average,
uh,
you have 3 pieces of equipment.
Whitney Hall and everything like this.
7 to 8
Do
years.
as much as we
can
can.
definitely do
You
like
would be,
20 a
you
year.
do,
Yeah.
it would be in that.
Yeah,
size.
right.
I
Yeah,
guess.
that's what
again,
I would go with. That I think would be reasonable, at least to kind of level it out, you know, with a third, a third, a third. Okay, rather than big hunks at a time.
So the other option is, so this would have to be a vote, right, or not?
Not if it
Oh,
comes out of
Okay.
CIP.
CIP, not if it's cash and not, if it's a bond, it's
How much-
gonna be a $500,000 bond.
Right, so if it comes out of CIP,
It's up to
is
the,
it, is it
select
flush
board
with
is the-
money?
Hmm?
Is it flush with money?
it's not flush, but it's got enough cash probably to
It's
do
got enough
this.
to do it, but if you purchase this engine
Right,
the way it's in the CIP, it would really draw you down this
Yeah.
first year.
Yeah, right.
We have to look at some of these projects. I don't know that we can do everything that's
Right.
listed this year.
No, yeah,
What do you
because
think
we got
if we
enough on
stretch
the
this
plate as it
To a
is.
third and a third and a third. What are we giving up in discount? What's it, yes?
Percent or two.
So,
I think if you paid for it up front, you're gonna get somewhere in that 4 to 4.5%.
that's
We
only,
split it up, we're
that's
probably
only
3.5.
So the way we got it set up, 3 to 3.5.
If we pull it down, let's call it 2.
two,
You think we can still get 2?
I think
So we're only giving up about $4,500.
yes,
Yeah, to erode all your cash, don't do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
right,
Tell him I'll
It's a
pay on
small,
delivery.
it's a small expense, but it makes sense to do it that way. Stretch it out. Third, a third, a third. Give
Yeah,
up a percentage.
down the
Yeah,
left.
we're financing it ourselves.
Inflation is
So
gonna-
We're gonna spend more than that if we finance it.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
inflation's
No,
gonna
I'm
be
not
higher
suggesting
than that.
finance it.
Well, not only that, but we've got so much stuff going on. It's a big plate.
I told him to
Okay.
go ahead and put it on, and we put it on for this year. To me, this is almost like the ambulance purchase we did last year.
Right.
We know it's so far out, let's just get on the list.
Right.
Before inflation.
Yeah,
hits.
Exactly, and the rationale of the change in the admission standard makes a lot of sense as well.
Yeah.
And that's just gonna
2%
cost us money.
savings, inflation will be more than that, pay
Right.
later.
well, yeah, except that if we, are we gonna order it? You mean, you're saying order it now?
Yeah.
But
And then
don't take
pay later.
delivery for 3 years?
Don't
And
take
forget
the
about the
discount.
2% discount, cause it
Because
doesn't mean
inflation-
anything,
Yeah, inflation will be more than
Right.
2%.
right? Cause 2%, yeah.
You're gonna save money by
we-
paying later.
A 2% discount is $10,000 on a $500,000
To the fire fund.
piece of equipment.
But I think it makes sense to do a third, a third, a third. give them some money down, take a 2%
We can
discount.
talk about it.
They don't,
You don't think it's worth
they're not
it?
even looking for down payment. They,
Nope.
they know
Right.
us. Okay, we.
Right, but we
They're not
would
even
give up any
looking for it.
potential negotiated discount is what.
Oh, I thought,
What
I
would
thought
be
you had to
doing,
put
and what you really
something
need
up
to
front
look at
now.
Put your money in
is
his
you'd be
TV,
moving
people.
a $450,000
$1,000
payment
lump
to
sum.
1 year.
Right, which
To 2026.
six,
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you'd have to start pre-planning now that we're not gonna buy much more than just a fire engine that year.
right,
That's the
Right.
problem.
that's right.
Or you do 120,000 a year for the next 3 years and you sprinkle in some projects.
Exactly.
That doesn't add up. Sorry. Why spread it out if you can just hold it and wait?
Because I think the
Because the
cost,
problem is you
know,
can't hold it.
the
Somebody
lost
else is gonna be
potential of
looking for it.
discount.
True, but that's discipline, right?
I know it is,
That's all about discipline.
it is. Yeah.
I
I
wouldn't wanna
understand- I
predict where
understand
we're
that
gonna
too.
be in 2 years to be able to not squeeze that in.
Yeah,
I say that's a big risk. Looking at it in 2 years and saying we're gonna somehow squeeze in other projects. Look at the number of projects that evolved between
the
the end of
same
August
time,
and
we're gonna be-
the end of September.
at the
We
same
need to have
time,
some room.
we're gonna be squeezing in $200,000 for the scenic byway.
And we're gonna
Because that's
squeeze in the
gonna
money.
be 2 years
You
down
know,
the
by
road too.
27, we need to squeeze in the money to match for the Shaker Boulevard
You may
Bridge.
not-
Well, that's the one I'm
You
talking.
may not be paying that full bill, just so
Well,
you know.
Well, I like the idea of third, to
There's
be
a
perfectly
pretty
honest.
good chance on that project.
Pay some now,
Only gonna get grant
Makes less
funding for the
impact in
engineer.
26.
What,
we're
what
gonna
are
need
you
that
holding? I'm
flexibility.
sorry, Ed, what'd you say?
For the scenic byway trail program, the
Right.
federal government has moved our calendar back to having the full thing done and a contractor picked through a full, what they call an LPA process, which is
Right.
hard to get through by next September.
Yeah.
The state, all the engineers, everybody's telling me pretty much, good luck. We're not gonna
It
get it
ain't
done.
gonna get it.
Why do
Not
we
gonna
even have to
Maybe
do
you can
this?
Get the engineering done.
Don't call, check on.
And the government will pay a percentage of that. So the project's probably not getting done, but the engineering.
Is
So we're
there
gonna
a
be in a
reason
lot.
why we have to do that to begin with?
The project,
Yeah,
because it's been a 10-15 year plan of the town.
We're up tangent. Let's
We are, yeah. we
let's
need to
get
go.
back
But
to
it's
where
not
we were. We
mandatory.
lost Phil, but let's get back to where we were.
Yeah,
I favor a down payment of 120 grand now. And then, moving forward to pay a third and then a third upon delivery.
yeah, I agree.
I feel we need a little breathing room. It's so difficult to predict
How do-
2026 at this point.
Because of everything coming on our
Yeah.
plate.
Kicking the can down the road and
For
then
the
hoping
town.
that we can squeeze other stuff in 2026. I don't think we can. I think we need a little flexibility.
Yeah, I do too.
I think we can afford the 120,000 this year.
because the other
Let's do
side
it.
of that is the CIP money sitting in the trust is getting about 1/10%.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but
Is,
That's what I'm saying.
towns aren't allowed
That's
to
what
earn
I'm saying.
money.
That's
So-
what I'm saying, is it's only getting about 1/10%. So if we can get
Yeah.
a 2% discount,
wait a minute, wait a minute.
Let's take the 2%.
You mean to tell me that our interest that we're getting on our money is only 1/10%?
Towns aren't allowed to earn
town
interest
aren't
on money.
Yeah,
allowed.
we're not allowed to put it in.
We're not
anything.
allowed to put them in CDs or anything like
like-
that.
Yeah,
No, you
well,
can't
you
put it
can
in
put it
your
in
account.
Fidelity, just
No,
their
you can't.
cash account.
Can't
No, you
invest it.
can't.
Can't invest it, not allowed.
Stupid.
Well, that's,
Quick, another
You know.
question on the,
Yeah.
on this one.
Yeah.
So what's shown here? Can you tell me what the in and the out is? Like money in, money out, or is this all money out?
This is all money
this
out.
is all money out, but if
The
you
in
look
and
at
out
the
is-
spreadsheet of the CIP summary,
Aren't we in the five-
you'll get a little better idea.
Right. The one that says CIP fund summary,
Okay.
that's your in and outs for the year,
Which obviously is going to change with.
which will change.
Which will change.
And so
So
which one is the in?
2026, we should have 136,000 in cash.
Yeah.
Yeah,
2026 is a tough year.
Well, this year's a
this is a tough.
tough year if
This
we
is every
fund
year.
everything.
Yeah, every year. is a
Right.
If
tough
we
year.
drop this from 240 to 120,
20.
it helps out a little
Yeah,
bit.
helps a little.
But we bring in about 526 to 540. So
Right.
if we're spending $1 million,
Good
we're
with me,
spending,
good with me as far as questions, we got
Yeah.
a call.
yep.
Okay.
See,
I think it's that, Phil. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good,
thank
good
you.
intro. I think, you.
Appreciate it.
I think you can look favorably on this probably happening. We'll just have to figure out some of the details.
We'll be waiting for. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Phil.
So
You have to keep in mind on the summary that the proposed new debt number is going to change.
Right.
It's gonna be based on what you
Thanks.
decide you
Night,
wanna
everybody.
do.
See ya.
Night.
So those are just kind of
Yeah,
numbers.
we won't know that until we're finished.
No.
No, if we stay with the plan of not taking on new debt, then it would just be cash out of the account.
Right.
Which if we're looking at spending 1 million, let's just round it down, and we're bringing in 500,000,
Right.
we're spending 500,000.
Thousands out of the,
and the current expected balance at the end of the year would be 1.2, down from
1.2.
1.6 at the end of last year.
right.
But that depends on the review of all the DPW stuff, and there's a ton of it.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know how you wanna play it, but at this point, I'm in favor of some money this year.
120.
Yeah.
2024.
Yeah.
Well, it would be less than that. It'll be less than that because you're gonna get 80,000 back on
On the
the
tail end.
equipment you sell.
But there was gonna be one.
So the third year should be the cheaper.
That
state.
doesn't.
The
play
third year
into
should be the
balance,
cheapest
though,
year.
right?
And,
The balance would
and
be
also we're
700.
hoping that we can get the 80,000 that's traded.
Balance to.
We don't know what the value of that
No.
equipment's gonna be in
Balance.
right.
2 full years. We'll just
Yeah,
hope
and
for the
America's
best.
La France has got a lot of life in it, actually.
Okay.
Sure,
I got it.
sure. So we can be optimistic that it'll
Right.
be what they're projecting and,
So is
No.
this all the DPW equipment?
yeah,
Those are the new.
That's 5 years worth
It's
though.
not necessarily things that have been on the plan.
Oh.
Most of them they asked for this year.
I know they
A
did.
few of them I
Yeah.
pushed off till next year.
I know. Well,
and everything is listed in the upper right corner as a one
One.
priority, so ignore
Right.
that.
I know,
I already talked to him about that too.
yeah,
that doesn't work.
Not everything's a
No,
one.
If everything is a priority, nothing is.
Exactly.
I teased him. I said, if
I'd be more-
everything's a 1 to you, it's a 5 to me, so.
so.
Anyway,
I see that
I'm more worried about his regular budget than I am the CIP budget at this point.
DPW is really expensive in the next few years. If you get all that stuff in there.
Yeah.
You
The
can't.
$1 million
You can't.
grader is.
it does,
No, you gotta slow
it
down.
doesn't fit.
How, how do you rank all of this DPW stuff relative to the tanker?
I'd have to talk to Jim a little bit more. What we wanna make sure we do, you know, the sidewalk tractor we pushed
Right.
off last year, that.
Yeah.
We're gonna be limping it through this year. So
Did
that's
he
something
do
that-
any repairs to that as was suggested last year? He was gonna get part of that rebuilt prior to last winter.
I don't know. He's been working on it, trying to keep it alive, but
Yeah.
it's something we need to do. They're still working on what exactly they want to get, but. That's something we should look at. I don't know the exact full amount of, you know, how bad off is the grader, how bad off is the backhoe.
Because the grader got redone 2 or 3 years ago.
We bought that grader 4 years ago.
I thought we rebuilt it 4 years ago.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
We
did.
rebuilt it.
We rebuilt it 4 years ago?
Yeah,
Okay.
that
But
grader
it was a
$1
substantial amount of money to rebuild.
Yeah, it was a
Right.
couple $100,000.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
That grader is like the 1.5.
Yeah.
For a new one.
The one thing I wanna talk to him about, we did a lot of work when I was in Weathersfield on this, and. If you get graders on the right cycle,
Right.
you can buy them in that $500,000 range for a $600,000 or $700,000 grader. Use it for 3 or 4 years, sell it back
Right.
and buy another one. And you can get trade-in values that ends up costing you like $130,000 for 3 or 4 years on a grader, which is pretty cheap, and you can keep them under warranty and you don't have to maintain them, but
Nobody likes to buy used, but
it's a hard cycle.
Hersey has a lot of nice trucks up there.
I was gonna say contractors like to buy used, cause they don't wanna
Right.
buy the $700,000
Right.
grader, and we get government pricing, so we
Right.
can knock a couple $100,000.
Yeah,
off of it.
I
I think he
think
needs
that's,
to look at actually using it.
I think we'll have to look
He's
at
using
that.
it anywhere near enough
Okay.
because it doesn't have something on the grader.
By the way, did we need to vote on the 120 or anything like
No,
this?
No, we'll
that'll be in
vote
the
on that, during the actual adoption of
Yeah.
the
That'll be
CIP
on the plan.
The only thing we need from you, if you decide to do it, I'm gonna recommend, if we decide, yes, we're gonna go forward with this and here's how we wanna do it, that we recommend the select board authorize
Right. Yeah,
expenditure from the CIP, so we can
Yeah.
get on the list to buy
Yeah.
one.
That makes
We're
sense. So
3 years out right now.
I'd add it to the agenda for the next select board meeting and then we can. But I think what we've got is a consensus that it looks like a payment of about a third.
And
coming
we
out of
could
24 and then
possibly do
25.
that, if you guys are okay with that, we could get on the select board agenda to spend 450,000 over the next 3 years out of the CIP, and you guys would have time to decide how you wanna pay for that.
Well, basically, that would be it. The 450 comes out of it. All 3 years.
Big of a pain would it be to look 10 years ahead?
Is that a 9?
Then,
Or
The pain is that Alyssa has to buy bigger
Or
pieces of
7.
paper or make it
Well,
really small.
Plans are, well, plans are supposed to be 6 years.
oh, okay.
so we don't know anything further out than that, other than, you know, they.
I think the
Right,
but like
difficulty of the
it's-
departments to project beyond, even into the 6 years is.
Yeah, we're not getting. to
Shows
the
that it's
6-year
so
mark.
difficult to be accurate. I think to look beyond.
Right,
is
I'm just
virtually impossible.
wondering, like, are we stacking like a whole bunch of equipment in the next 7 and then there's nothing?
No,
Like, it sounds like police is on a routine, right?
they are, but,
We're working on getting them thinking 6 years out.
right.
There's a reason you have a whole stack of stuff for next year.
The change between last year's CIP spreadsheet and this year's CIP spreadsheet, looking ahead the 6 years is huge.
Okay,
I do in fact have more years in my spreadsheet, but you'd never be able to read them all, and there's not a lot of data there yet.
got it.
I have the cruisers out there.
Yeah.
Um,
Right, I'm not
get
worried about
PPA.
police because they seem to be. on
They're,
routine.
they're on it, and they have the
Right.
same piece of equipment.
Right, yes.
It's
and so-
DPW.
Right, it's
Yeah.
DPW, because it sounds like, fire is 3 engines every 7 years. Once they're on the routine.
When they're on the routine.
Once
yeah,
they're on the routine. And this is a change of pattern that he'll now
Right.
adopt.
How about ambulance? Do we have 1 or 2?
That's about 15 years.
115.
One
yeah,
every 15?
Just
And we
about.
just bought one.
Yeah, right.
It's on order, right?
On
It's
order.
on order. It's supposed to show up
It won't show up till next year.
middle of next year, middle of 24.
Yeah.
That was approved and then the next one will be 15 years, so.
Well, and that's
You know,
something that
beyond
throws
that,
a wrench in it,
and-
that last year, if you would have talked to us, fire trucks were 1 year out from time of order. Now they're 3 years out from time of order.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, on those big pieces of equipment, it's hard.
I
to-
guess they lost all their, employees, I guess.
No, everybody
they-
started ordering.
Really?
Everybody started ordering and there's
And there's
fewer,
fewer
there's
manufacturers.
fewer manufacturers in the
American
business.
LaFrance is out, so there's fewer manufacturers.
There's a lot of guys who are out now that you're not seeing their vehicles anymore.
Wow, maybe you should,
I mean, Roy's a
Maybe we-
real exception. to be
maybe
able
we
to
should
walk
all
the
get into
cruiser.
business and start manufacturing.
No,
No.
no, thank you.
No.
I've seen too many of those.
Yeah, and they
So
don't,
how many-
you know,
How many pieces of equipment does DPW roughly have?
I don't know, we can talk about that next meeting. when
how many
Joe's here.
employees do they have? Cause each one of them has their own.
Well, and then,
For
but
trucks.
there's
But
special.
then we have backhoes.
Well, that's what I
and
mean.
Yeah,
graders
backhoes and
and-
loaders.
We've got more equipment than we do
Grader,
people.
and- yeah.
And unfortunately, in
Not uncommon.
DPW, we need more equipment than we have people.
Yeah,
Right.
I was
Because we
gonna
have
say, not uncommon.
specialized
Right.
equipment.
So the next meeting, I will experiment and I will be remote from Seattle.
Okay,
But we are talking about things, and I'll let Jim explain this a little bit more, but you may see on your CIP that I moved to next year was a crack sealing machine that we've never had before.
I still don't know why that's not a contract.
But it is right now, but we've been working with our regional partners, Hanover and Lebanon and different people. Because we're starting to have contractors sign contracts and not show up.
Where did we
So-
have crack sealing done in 23?
I don't know,
I can't,
but
I don't know
we
that.
should have it done every year.
We're supposed to, and we're supposed to follow up 1 year past paving and have it done then. To preserve what you just paid for, but we don't seem to do that.
Probably be about 2 to 3 years after, but 1 year's a little quick.
It depends on the wear and tear on the road. I know that as
I
far
know
as.
we've
George
been
Hill Road
talking
cracked
about
for
it.
one winter.
Right.
we've been talking about it. We've been having regional meetings. This is something kind of new swirling around. And, you know, Claremont has a paver, Hanover has a line striping machine. We're starting to talk
Enfield
about
owns a line striping machine,
no, not a long line stripe.
not a long line.
Yeah.
It's for
They have a
crosswalks
long
and that
line
sort of thing.
striper.
Right,
And so we've been talking about if every town has a piece of equipment and every town pitches in one person, we can run around and get a lot of stuff done, a lot cheaper than.
Yeah.
So you're suggesting a
we
bit
could
of
also have
consortium
regional fire
as far as the use of a
department.
crack seal machine is concerned.
Yes, and that's kind of why that's.
As
on
well as
there, but I
the
pushed it out
operator,
a year.
the special, the operator who would know what he's doing would be sort of reimbursed.
Yeah, we'd have a guy that really kind of knows what he's doing, but we'd also pick up a few of their people and so. I purposely, not only because we're stacked this year in trying to buy stuff, but let's give this another year of development to see where we're at, but. You know, I don't wanna, hey, we're gonna use your line striper, we're gonna use your paver, we're gonna
Right.
use this, and we're not gonna. Put in anything.
Oh, we're done.
Yeah,
Well, no,
well, you know, one of the things that I said, because I saw that thing in there for what is it? Asphalt or not, or liquid stuff.
The
for-
brine spreader?
No, not the brine, the in between the
Yeah,
crack spreader.
crack
and
sealer.
Crack seal.
Crack sealer. When they did Shaker Boulevard, they left a really crazy thing because it was almost overlapping. And then it was a big
Plot.
plot, yeah.
Plot.
And I'm saying, we can't control that any better than that? Because to be honest with you, in one part where my house or my driveway is, in the wintertime, it sinks like a couple inches. Okay? On the other side, I'm saying, what is going on? We can't get these people when they pave to do a better job? I guess not.
I think sometimes we present them with conditions and say, go ahead and pave, when in fact it's not appropriately prepared by us. And the other thing is, we don't follow anything with crack seal. We never have.
It might be what the base is of that road. And,
Yeah.
you know, we could look at.
Because the crack sealer now,
Welcome to
On the-
Chicken Hill Road.
On the same road, you sent out a note, I thought, that said that the bridge at Shaker Boulevard would be replaced at 27. Am I correct on that?
I think it might be moved up to 25.
Yeah, here on the spreadsheet, it was moved up a year to 26.
Yeah.
What changed? Was that the state?
The state's paying for that project.
Except for what we have to pay.
Right.
So the question I had made a few weeks ago was when we had to come up with the match. The match has been put into 24. Do we really need it in 24?
I don't think so. Let me look at that. Did all of it get put into 24 or? is
That's
that-
what I thought I was reading, is that the match was in 24. And we had earlier talked about how long have we got to make the match?
Right.
In here it's 26.
So there may be some of the match this year, but
Jimmy,
All the matches.
the match is in 26.
yeah,
So you think it moved from 27 to 26?
yes, it got moved up.
Okay, and we don't need to come up with a match until 26.
Probably not.
But we need to keep it in our head that we need to come up with it in 26.
No, I understand that.
Yeah.
Well, and it may get spread out, so I may be coming back to you, because once we get the RFP done, we may have to put in portions of the match as we do engineering.
All the
those
engineering
types
and
of things.
everything.
and what are they doing? Are they just replacing the exact bridge
With a real bridge.
To the rail bridge, not a big.
It's there as
with the
a
one lane? One lane or?
No,
two?
that'll be a 2-lane bridge as it was originally.
Original?
You mean the one that's on the far side of the lake?
On the 4A
Yeah,
side
it's a
of Shaker
4A
Boulevard,
Knox
Shaker
River, it
Boulevard.
goes across the Knox River.
was replaced with a 1-lane Bailey Bridge,
Right.
which could last forever. But it really does need to be a 2-lane
But they've
proper bridge.
never resurfaced that bridge, and it's supposed to be resurfaced with some kind of a grit. Right now, most of it is off. It's very, the grit is off, so
Yeah, I don't know
it's-
how much supposed to
they,
regrit a Bailey Bridge.
Right.
they used to have it, now it's, most of it is off. It's just sheer metal. The metal is rusting, you can see it.
That may be something for Jim to look at. We may have to actually consider
Had a 75
some
year
sort of
life.
a grid application or
We
something.
won't now.
Well, we purchased it, it had a
We're gonna replace
75 year life, the Bailey Bridges did.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, that Bailey Bridge is rated for like 120,000 pounds.
Right, well, and also, it saved us a lot of money because
And we're gonna
Our
reuse
match-
it.
our match was going to be 3 times what the Bailey Bridge cost.
And that bridge is gonna get reused
Right.
somewhere, maybe Spectacle Pond or someplace
Maybe
else,
Someplace else,
that or the one out back.
right.
We're in the Bailey
We did
Bridge
do
business.
these now, right?
Yes,
We did?
we're actually recording this right now
Okay,
because we're here.
right.
As long as the meeting is held here, so we'll just have to make sure that.
Yeah, we'll hold it here.
So next time,
Okay,
I'm in Seattle.
We won't dive into
I
DPW.
went to PD. It's like, oops,
right, we'll dive into DPW in 2 weeks.
So Jim will be here next time, couple weeks?
Yes,
October 9th.
Fair enough.
nothing from ambulance?
We don't need any.
Well, no, but sometimes they come in looking for radios or,
I haven't heard of anything.
Okay.
I'm not chasing them yet.
no,
And nothing over 10,000 for rec.
Not that I know of right now.
come under admin.
I can't imagine they do something with 10 grand. You know, we already
Just the backstop.
we already funded the back stuff. Even if it's delayed a year, it's already in the
Yeah, that's
budget.
true. I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay,
Thank you all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
yeah,
And the backstop may get delayed for a while.
Oh, did-
yeah,